everyone, welcome to my garden. This morning I thought I would take a walk around and show you, particularly focusing on plants that are blooming in my garden. Mid-May, it's a gorgeous day. We've had some really warm weather and the plants are just taking off and exploding in color, and I just can't wait to share my garden with you. But first I wanted to show you this beautiful Brunnera. This is the Queen of Hearts Brunnera. I mean, I really should have divided this plant this spring, but I didn't. And it is ginormous. Like, this is not even its foliage right now. These are just its blooms. And it's really looking glorious, but it's huge. And I need to, when it's done blooming, it may not be the right time to divide it, but I'm gonna have to divide it as soon as it's done blooming. But it is very pretty. Like, it's really beautiful, and it's offering such a great amount of color with all of these blue blooms. These are the forget-me-not like blooms, and it's just very glorious in this spot. It's very happy, as I can see. I mean, more happy than anywhere else in my garden, and I love how it's looking. It's almost looking like a shrub. But you know, I also have another one here which is also really blooming and doing well. Not as big as the other one, but it's still pretty big. And then I do have my Lithodora, which is starting to bloom as well. And I just love when that happens, because it just mimics that blue and continues it along the path here. And I love how this looks. This side is starting to bloom a lot sooner than this side. I think it may have something to do with the sun and how it hits it. But I think regardless, I do love how that looks. And roses are really starting to take off, and hopefully we'll have some blooms to share. And I'm actually going to keep an eye for which rose in my garden is gonna bloom first, and show that to you. So let's walk around and see what else is blooming. I have these beautiful anemones that are blooming here and looking absolutely gorgeous. The creeping thyme around it is filling in, and yeah, I mean, it's looking really pretty. And I do also have some tulips that are still blooming all over the garden. There are some late variety of tulips that are still blooming, and lots of geum has started to also open up. That is the koi geum. I also had the totally tangerine geum on the other side. I just love geum at this time of the year. It just shines and adds such a lovely pop of color. I personally love orange in the garden very much. So I think it's a very nice color for the garden. It contrasts with a lot of other colors like pinks and purples and reds, and you can throw about any color with it and it looks good. I also have beautiful blooms on this succulent here. It's just looking absolutely gorgeous. And still, like I said, lots of tulips are still blooming. I do have alliums here that are starting to open right now, and they're looking really pretty. I do also have some species tulips that are still blooming, and creeping phlox that is also starting to open and bloom, and cadmium starting to bloom as well. This is the cat's pajamas Nepeta, which is blooming, and lots of beautiful foliage on the rose, on the hydrangea. So it's gonna be really pretty. I also have this beautiful bonfire euphorbia that is starting to open, and it's really pretty and gorgeous. I also have these alliums that are blooming here. Aren't they so gorgeous? Love how these look, and I love how the leaves are so different on these alliums, and they're absolutely beautiful. Look at them. Aren't they gorgeous? I still have to edge my borders. I haven't done that. It is a task I am still pending to do. So I think this long weekend I might get around to edging my borders a bit and cleaning up and mulching a few pads. Iris buds all over, and beautiful lilac yet to come to bloom. This is the Centara pink lilac. I think it's going to open up very soon. It's looking really pretty. and just lovely with the contrast with this double Play Doozy spirea. It's looking gorgeous. My Japanese maple here has now fully opened, and it is, I love when it first opens with this beautiful pink variegation. This is Lilianne's Jewel Japanese maple. I love how this one looks. And yeah, I mean, a lot of things are filling in here. Nothing really blooming at the moment here, but this is gonna be a riot of color in the coming weeks, and I'm looking forward to it. I still have some tulips that are blooming here. These are beautiful species tulips. I love all the different colors on these. They are all different. This was a mixed pack that I bought from Costco. I think it's really pretty. And then I have these beautiful tulips that are still blooming as well. So that's what's happening in this front garden today, and I will walk around and show you what my backyard is doing today. And I think it's really, really lovely to see all of these beautiful blooms in the garden. I can't believe I still have some daffodils that are blooming as well, and it's good to see that here and there have these beautiful daffodils still blooming. I have so many different varieties now, so I feel like they've been blooming since beginning of April, and now we are almost in mid-May, so that's a really long time. So that's everything in the front garden, and now we'll show you what's happening in my backyard garden next. Before I head over to the backyard, I also wanted to show you this beautiful dwarf bearded iris that's blooming. Isn't this gorgeous? It's really, really pretty. I actually rescued this last year from a garbage kind of situation, and it's gorgeous. I don't know the name. I will try to find it, but I don't think I know the name of this one, and regardless, it's really, really stunning, and I wanted to really capture it. It's the first year, and I think as it spreads in this area, it's going to create a lovely little patch of these tiny bearded irises. It's gorgeous. All right, before I walk into the backyard, I just want to show you a little view of the side yard. Not the side yard, this is the corner of my front yard garden. It is quite a deep bed, and it changes throughout the season, and I think it's going to be a lot more colorful with all of the roses and the irises blooming in here as well very shortly. And I did plant a banana plant in there. This was a plant I overwintered in my basement. I kind of dug it up and I put it in a towel, wrapped it in a towel, and I stored it for the winter like that, and it survived, and it's looking really, really good. So yeah, let's walk around here and take a look at the side yard. So the side yard has lots and lots of color right now because of this candy tuft. It is blooming. It's in full bloom, and here's Ollie with his little toy walking around. It's looking absolutely fabulous in here. I love it when it starts to bloom, and it adds so much color at this time of the year. And then lots of plants are filling in, and especially like the catmint is starting to bloom, which is also looking very nice. And my crabapple here, this is Royal Raindrops, is now, I think, ending its bloom. It's in full glorious bloom, and it's flushing out its leaves, and I really enjoyed these blooms. They've been filled with a lot of bees. I've been seeing a lot of pollinators on it already, and it's looking really, really good. So I'm super thrilled with this choice of this tree. It's going to look really spectacular as it starts to fill in and grow. And I do have azaleas that are starting to come into, I think these are rhododendrons, sorry, not azaleas. These are red azaleas with rhododendrons that are gonna bloom soon. And I do have a pink one in the back there. I think this is English Roseum, which is also just starting to open. So we'll share with you when it starts opening a little bit more, but lots of alliums are starting to pop up here and there and start blooming. And the shade garden is really filling in with all the hostas coming up. I mean, I do have slugs munching on some of the leaves already. I haven't put in anything for that, but as you can see, they are really greening and looking really good. So the hostas are just starting to come and fill in all the gaps that were there in this shade border here. This is the part that I love the most about my garden. There's something very magical about a woodland garden, and if you have the opportunity to create one, it's really, really magical. So I'm loving it as it's filling in and it's looking really, really pretty. Columbine is starting to come into bloom as well, and I have one that's blooming really nicely on the other side, and the ones here should be blooming shortly. But the garden is, I mean, it's really looking pretty. There are still primulas that are blooming in this little spot here. I added actually a couple of plants of this purple rain Jacob's ladder, which is also looking really pretty in this garden. And I did plant some masterwort or astrantias here, and I have my first bloom on it, which is looking absolutely beautiful. And this one here is budded up as well, and it's going to open up soon and be covered in blooms. Lots of color. I also added this verbascum here, which is starting to open its blooms as well and just looking really delicate and pretty. Yeah, and the last of the tulips are here. They are going over now, but I just love this pop of pink tulips here. These have come back reliably for me, and I love how they are looking. Absolutely beautiful punch of color in this corner here. And I have columbine that's blooming in here as well. Sorry, I've been like working in the garden and it's a little messy at this time of the year, but lots of stuff is blooming and I didn't want to miss out on showing this to you. This columbine is just looking divine in this corner. And I have my geranium macrorhizum that is also in the back starting to bloom, and it's looking really, really pretty with the hosta and the grasses, and just the daffodils are still going on. I mean, they are still holding the show, which is amazing to see. I do have these caramel heucheras, which are adding such a nice pop of color in the shade garden. I think they are just looking absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I mean, I think the garden is looking pretty. There is sweet woodruff that is blooming as well and looking really, really nice. And this part here, I do have a lot of iris that's going to open up here, but I do have lots of alliums that are opening up, and this is Blue Star Amsonia, which is just starting to open as well. So this area here is going to be a riot of colors, and I can't wait to show it to you when it starts to really flush out. I do have a patch of forget-me-nots there that just appeared in my garden, and I think I'm going to have them forever now, but that's all right. I will pull out what I don't need. But yeah, this is what the garden is looking like today, mid-May. Lots of blooms, and I actually wanted to walk over and check if my Centaurea is blooming. It did have some buds on it, so I want to see if it has started to bloom. Not yet. I mean, it is budding up. This is a beautiful bluish purple one, so I'm excited to see this one bloom. And I do have a white and purple one here as well, which is loaded in buds as well, and these are pretty established in my garden, so they should have a really nice bloom. I do have a European snowball viburnum, which has some flowers. I mean, I'm not super impressed with this viburnum. I am still debating if I want to keep it here or not, but it's growing and it's looking okay. But yeah, here's a little bloom on my lilac. Isn't that gorgeous? This is like the only bloom this lilac has, and it's still maturing, but it's beautiful. It hasn't opened yet. So yeah, I mean, the garden is looking great. thought I'd just walk around and show you what it was looking like today, mid-May, and what's blooming in my garden. Lots more to come in terms of blooms, but the garden is filling in nicely, and I will show you when more things are blooming in the garden. So thank you again so much for joining me. Oh, I do also have a juga that is starting to bloom in different spots, so which is nice to see. So thank you for joining. Oh, I have one more thing I want to show you before I end this video. So this is my Susan Magnolia, which is now has some flower buds on it, which I'm excited because it hasn't bloomed for me yet. So this is the first year it's going to start to bloom. And isn't that such a nice color? I mean, this is one that I want to keep as a as a shrub, and it's a smaller tree anyways, but this is one of those magnolias that blooms after it leaves out. So I'm excited to have this in my garden. So it's exciting to see this one bloom, and I think by the time I share another weekly update, this would have bloomed. So I will show that to you, what the blooms look like. And here is beautiful foliage on the pieris as well. I love how this is looking in the garden. So thank you again so much for joining me. I hope everyone will have a fabulous day wherever you're joining me from. And for those of you who are joining me for the first time, my name is Preeti. I garden in Toronto, and I love to share with you what my garden is doing throughout the season and if I'm doing anything interesting with plants. So thank you again, and I hope to catch you very soon in another weekly walkabout and show you what's happening in my garden.